Welcome! Welcome, welcome! It's another edition of Reptile in the Living Room. This is a show dedicated to bringing out topics people don't like to talk about because they might think you're a little weird if you talk about them. I'm talking about them. Who cares what people think about us, right? Okay, if you care what people think about you at this point in time, you gotta let that stuff go. You gotta let it go. Because people are gonna think whatever they want to think about you. You know what? Just shine like the light you're supposed to be. Shine like the weird freaking light you're supposed to be. We need to talk about what's going on this planet right now because we're in a funky place. Funky, funky. Wish it was funky good, but it's not funky good. Well, it is funky good in the sense that we are moving ahead in our evolution. We are moving ahead and becoming... Aw, I have a cat wanting to contribute to the conversation right now. He's not a big talker. That's pretty sweet. We are moving ahead in our evolution, and some people call this the ascension. Some people think that there's going to be a giant event that happens that kind of catapults us into a higher state of consciousness. There are people that think we're just kind of slowly, incrementally going up in that consciousness scale. And you know what? I kind of don't care which way it happens. It just has to happen because this place is a loony bin. Planet Earth is, tons of beautiful things everywhere. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, people are incredible. Animals are incredible. Nature, come on. I mean, dang. I mean, this is a beautiful planet. The parts of it that haven't been destroyed yet are incredible, right? But that's kind of the point, is that things are getting destroyed. There's this contingency that is really rearing its ugly head more now than ever, at least in this particular cycle of time. And they like to control. They like to control. They like to manipulate. They really just see us as their slaves, as their food, as, whatever. You know what I mean? They're written about in all the sacred texts. They're written about in the Bible. We can call the head leader Satan or Lucifer. I almost see it maybe more as a collective versus a particular being. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong on every single thing that's coming out of my mouth. You know what? If I was wrong, so be it, right? I'm saying what I feel is my truth and sharing my observations with people right now. And so it doesn't matter. But anyway, whether they are a collective or maybe one leader with a whole bunch of beings that work underneath this leader, whatever it is, it exists. Because I know a lot of good people that when they get off track, make a lot of bad decisions. I know people that give them a little bit of power, let's say in a job, and next thing you know, they turn into Hitler's spawn. Their egos just go out of control. Give them a little bit of fame and fortune. That's the end of the story, man. All of a sudden, they're not so nice. I'm not going to single out particular movie stars at this time, but goodness knows there's been a laundry list of them. And there still are. Don't get me started on Hollywood. I'll probably have a talk on that as well. Hollyweird. Dear goodness. Oh, this is my mug today. This is from my super, super cool friends, Herman and Angie, who love me very much. And it's awesome. They bought me a mug. And it talks about, it says Roswell, New Mexico, okay? Featuring what we think a typical alien might look like, but chances are they look a little bit more like you and I. And they do exist. And Roswell was real. Oh, what a cover-up that was. Anyway, all for another talk, my friends. Today I am here, and I'm inspired to talk today particularly about the topic, once again, my note card of information. I could barely read my own writing, so this is going to be a struggle. I was inspired by somebody I love who's much younger than me, who has wished to engage me in conversation because of a song that I put up here on YouTube, and possibly the first video I put up. I'm not sure, but he has brought up the topic of mind control, and I thought, you know what, that is pretty freaking awesome for somebody so young to begin to look at that. He's always been a little wiser than the average bear, but I love that youngsters are thinking about this, because we all need to be thinking about this on this planet, both young and old. And you know what? It shows me when a youngster is talking about this, that these programs are not as effective as these reptilians would like, these reptilians and their minions. The reptilians, of course, once again, mentioned in sacred texts, mentioned in all kinds of ancient texts, mentioned in the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. I'm not familiar with all biblical texts, so I can't speak on behalf of all of them. Not biblical, but you know what I mean, like other religions' Bibles. But they're mentioned in most of them, and then there's artwork of them all over the world too. In our ancient history, most of which has been, they've done their best to erase it, because our history is just like incredibly old and incredibly wonderful. I mean, gosh, who needs science fiction? Not me. Anyhow, or fiction for that matter. I mean, life is just a trip. There's so many rabbit holes you can go down and learn from. It's just amazing. So the mind control thing, yeah, that is a major problem. And, these reptilians and their minions really, really enjoy controlling us. That's the thing. You're just like the typical psychopath. What do they love to do? They love to control. You know what? I can't speak for the absolute dark forces myself, like the reptilians themselves. But, I mean, when you want to control somebody, that generally means you don't have any control over your own self, that you're out of control. You don't have maturity. You don't have the ability to go within and grow and become a better person. It means a whole bunch of things. But man, people that have to control other people, and they're everywhere, no shortage. I'm not just talking about reptilians. They're everywhere. People who have to control other people have some deep-seated issues that need to be dealt with. Nonetheless, that's on a lighter spectrum of things. Going back a little bit deeper, all right, into this whole control system. I mean, there's no shortage of mind control programs that have gone on through the government. I mean, I don't watch regular TV because it's a mind control system. So a real easy way to deal with that portion of it is just turn the damn thing off, right? But apparently there is some show on TV right now that's kind of dealing with the MK Ultra crap, right? It's like, I mean, these games we play with each other on this planet are just astounding. It's like, they just go and go and go. And it's like these sick and twisted people. It's like, how much lower can you go? Yeah, I mean, how much lower can you go? And they just have to control people at every level. They have to, it's just nuts. I'm going to talk about this. You may be saying, okay, MK Ultra, maybe that's not true. So much of this stuff has been declassified thanks to the hard work of people getting FOIA documents, Freedom of Information Acts from the government, which I hear is no easy task in and of itself. People, if that's not enough for you, okay, I shared this with the younger person in my life that brought up the mind control thing. I shared a video. None of these things are all too easy to find on the internet. Sometimes they just like scrub them completely. Gratefully, a lot of people have kept copies of these things and share them when they get taken down off of the internet, which is also a mind control program. I did say that, and it is. It's grateful we have it, but it's highly controlled, and you know that. I don't need to tell you that. There was a city council meeting. I believe it was city council in the city of Richmond, California. And this is several years ago. I ran across this video on this wild and incredible journey I've been on for truth. I don't know who's leading me on this journey. I have ideas, but man, I'll tell you, I have gotten some incredible, incredible information on this journey. I'm going to just call them angels. How's that? And these poor people, unfreaking believable. They're at the city council meeting in Richmond, California, asking their city council members to please ban space-based, I think it's space-based mind control? Space-based weapons is what they called it, space-based weapons. And gratefully, I'm sure because nobody was listening to these people along the way, gratefully, there were psychologists and doctors that showed up along with these people and, said, these people are telling the truth. They are going through trauma due to what we are going to call space-based weapons and space-based weaponry, and we want it stopped. And it's really kind of a painful thing to watch. You'll probably want to have that giggle factor. Like we've also been programmed to do is laugh at people that tell things that are truthful, that don't sound like they're quote unquote normal. We've been programmed to laugh, at people that tell the truth about things. Programmed to laugh at people that tell the truth about things. I mean, how rotten is that, right? Laugh at your brothers and sisters telling the truth on this planet, right? You laugh at them and somehow or another you're not crazy. Well, you know what? You're being an ass is what you're being when you don't listen to your brothers and sisters on this planet. Because most people aren't crazy. Hint, hint, okay? Walk away with that one. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just really, really pissed at how we've been programmed so badly, especially to, pit one against the other. Oh, anyway. Nonetheless, so back to the city council meeting. The city council members voted to sign something that bans space-based weapons above Richmond, California. Now, I do want to bring up one point because a lot of these people were African American, and there is a conspiracy against African Americans. There have been for a long time, as well as Native Americans and indigenous peoples. Particularly the indigenous peoples, because they carry a lot of wisdom, ancient wisdom, that the controllers, controlled by the reptilians, do not want out, okay? So you know what they do? They just kill them all. The ones they have left, they throw them on reservations, and hey, how about some alcohol? Would you like to drink some alcohol and deal with your upsetness, your depression or whatever over this? It just... Everywhere you look, yes, life is beautiful, okay? I'm a very optimistic person, very optimistic. Life is beautiful. There's so many beautiful things about life. Everywhere you look, this system exists. And so what we're doing with this show called Reptile in the Living Room is we're bringing it out for everybody to look at. We're going to take a look at all this crap that has been piled upon us to keep us controlled, to keep us miserable, and talk about it, okay? No longer the elephant in the living room. We're talking about it. And this elephant happens to be reptilian. And it's not a joke. These reptiles have been mentioned since antiquity all over this planet, up to the same freaking game all throughout time. Right now, we're dealing with them extensively in this time frame. And we have the golden ticket. We have the golden ticket to, go on to a ride that's a lot better than the one we're on right now if we get together and talk about this stuff and do something about it. So, yes, they don't like people of dark skin either. And when you start to learn about our galactic history and the history of our planet, you will see that these reptilian beings don't like a lot of the dark skin beings because there are other dark skin beings in our solar system in particular that are much more consciously evolved. And the higher our consciousness goes, the less likely this lower consciousness is able to interact with us, okay? That's how I understand this process to work. Once again, these are my observations based off of what I've read, what I've heard from other people, and personal experience. And we can just leave it at that. So yeah, they don't like, I won't say people of color, I'll say particularly people of African descent, the people with the darkest skin of African descent, which in my opinion happen to be the most beautiful people on this planet physically. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, and their voices, talk about from the angels, right? Seriously, the most beautiful singing voices on this planet. So I'll stand up for them too in this video, and for our beautiful indigenous people on this planet. My goodness, oh boy, they've all taken a bad route. Gee whiz, look what's happening to the people in Africa. I mean, you know, talk about a clear sign that particular group of people is being what's the word I want to use? Discriminated. I mean, yeah, that doesn't even work. They're being killed. We'll talk about some vaccination programs that are going on in that area too on one of these shows. Not cool at all. All right, so I'm going to go back to mind control. I don't know if Hitler was up to mind control. I mean, he certainly had the masses controlled. I wonder how that happened. Because everything goes back to the Nazis, at least for this current part of history, and I'll get into the Nazis definitely on another show. Definitely. Mind control. Oh yeah, there we go. Here's mind control in a nutshell. This is Hitler. My race is better than yours. My blonde hair and my blue eyes make me better than you. You know, that was his whole thing. It was promoting the Aryan race. Okay, so like another question I asked in history. Well, if Hitler thought, you know, as I was young, I noticed this. Like, if Hitler thought that the Aryan race was so spectacular and that blonde hair and blue eyes was the way to go, did you notice what color hair he had? And from all I can tell, his eyes were brown. Once again, all of this ugliness comes from a hatred of who you are inside. Okay, so it's our job on this planet to love who we are, not think we're better than other people. Nope, we're off track if we're thinking that, because we're all one. We're all cells in one giant system, and we all work together. When we work together in harmony, we are healthy. But yeah, it's that whole division thing. It's the whole division thing, right? We'll just call that the basis of mind control, okay? This is just me today trying to work things out, trying to figure out how this whole control system operates and this weird world we are works. So let's remember division, okay? And it's everywhere you look too. I will talk about it in another show. One of those division areas of division is religion. I'm not saying that religion is bad. And I know a lot of people have a lot of different religious beliefs. I even have a belief system in my life based about somebody who lived a couple thousand years ago. I don't know, he lived 2,000 years ago. For all I know, somebody made up that story. But you know what? He taught some incredible things that really had a premise of unity. It was all about unity, right? That's not division, okay? But some people came along and took that message and turned it into division. Like, if you don't think the way I think, or if you don't believe this particular narrative, this particular story, you're going to hell. That's where we get into trouble with religions, okay? Once again, if we look at the basic tenets of all religions, they really are the same. I have a suspicion, based on my own observations and thoughts along the years, and also from what I've heard from other people who definitely know a lot more than I do, that a lot of these religions were brought here to us by people who were much more highly evolved than us. And the same group of controllers starts with an R. We know who they are, right? Those little reptiles. Anyway, they came along, took the message, twisted the message, and controlled us with it. Okay, so once again, as we walk through life and we try and figure out, like, how we can become better people, let's just remember that we're not going to participate in the game of division. We're not going to participate in it anymore. You know what? Unless that game of division is about outing these reptilians and their minions, okay? The people that are harming children, harming people on this planet, harming you, harming me, harming this incredible planet all around us, the animals, the beautiful nature all around us. Unless it's those people that are really harming us, and it's obvious that they're harming us. Yeah, they hide. Oh boy, do they like to hide, you know? But unless it's about them, because you know what, we don't need to be harming. We need to move into a space of unity and caring for one another. That's where we need to be. So division is a sign, and when there's a division, you know, if you don't have the discernment, you know, it takes a long time to develop discernment. That's for sure. You don't have enough discernment in a particular area. You're like, I don't know if that feels right or wrong. It's like if there's division, I really feel that's our clue that we're off base. There's something is off base. And maybe we should choose not to align with that. I have terrible hay fever, by the way. Sorry, I keep sniffling. This is, you know, whatever. This will be my series until I could figure out a better way. I actually had to take over-the-counter medication for it today, which I really didn't want to do, but I had a weed whack, and I was really congested when I woke up, and whatever. I know it has nothing to do with anything, but that's me. That may be me too. You never know. It may be you. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, government. That's another mind control system, especially with the my government's better than your government, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to talk too much about government. I've talked about it in many ways. Certainly this two-party system, or, you know, even the other parties, and, you know, the isms and the communism and the socialism. I mean, you know what needs to rule our governments and our planet? Our hearts. Love needs to rule. Don't think it can happen? You're wrong. It can. Not think it can happen is part of the control system. And you know who the control system comes from? The ones who love division. And you know who they are. That's right. I'm not even going to say it. Another mind control. Another mind control is the media. We'll just say like newspapers. They're you know, one of the first forms of mass media. And, you know, it said it in the newspaper. It's got to be true. I'm not saying all news isn't true. There's plenty of truth to be found in what the media has to share. Conversely, there are plenty of lies. And as time has gone by, especially in the last few decades, that level of truth has diminished to almost something completely imperceptible. There's a lot of manipulation that goes on. There is lying by omission. So they just won't tell you the full story, or they will withhold facts to manipulate the story. As a journalist, you are supposed to be unbiased. And I mean, that's like journalism 101 for anybody who's taken any of those classes. At least in the past. I don't know what it is now. Thank God. I wouldn't even want to think about going to school at this day and age at all. But you know what? It's about being neutral. It's about being unbiased. It's about looking at both sides of the story. That's what journalism is supposed to be. And we all know it's anything but. So back in the day, people had newspapers. And I'm hoping at that point in time that maybe people were a little bit more honest, but I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Then radio came along, right? And you could reach a lot of people with radio. So now you have two control mediums. You have newspaper and radio. And once again, this radio program is brought to you by... You know what's really funny, too? If you think about it, I said radio program. This radio program is brought to you by... Because they called it programs right from the get-go. Radio program, TV program, right from the get-go. They let us know that they were programming us. We don't have to consent. Just saying, we have a choice. We always have a choice. You have a choice. Yeah, so the radio thing. Think about, for any of you who have ever heard War of the Worlds, if you haven't heard War of the Worlds, I'm talking about the radio version. I'm sure I think there have been a movie or two done on it. I think that the radio version is very good. Um, I've heard it many times, and could you imagine like turning on your radio in your car and all of a sudden hearing aliens were invading, and you know, if people look at that, it's like, oh yeah, it was a mistake for Orson Welles to do that, and he shouldn't have scared everybody. But then the vast majority of people seem to know that was really a test. It was a test to see how the public would do with the information that we are not alone in our universe, and that there are aliens or extraterrestrials. I think the extraterrestrials is a slightly better term for them. Our galactic family. I like that one, right? They don't sound quite so foreign. And people didn't do so great. They freaked out. Well, you know what? We're in the process right now where that's being revealed to us in a slower fashion, because the little children of Earth can't handle it. Bottom line is we could, and we could probably handle it in a speedier fashion if it were done in a respectful and kind and thoughtful way. But that's a whole other topic, and that'll be many shows once I start talking about that. So yeah, not only do they control us via the media, like War of the Worlds, they're able to gauge our reactions. All right, because when they know how we react to things, then they control us even more based on our reactions, right? Perfect. Then we have TV, just, now we've got some vision that goes along with the radio, and we can, program, people just get locked into the box. When I was in college, I remember I took an advertising class, and that's where I started. I had already heard about it, as a teenager, but that's when I started to learn about subliminal advertising. And I remember our teacher just showing us subliminal ads that showed up in magazines, and it's like, maybe our conscious, our subconscious, are aware. We're like when we're awake, our conscious. I really don't like using that term. There's got to be a better term for it. When we're just like looking at something head on and not really thinking, we see one thing, but our subconscious, it picks up all these other messages, and that's just that programming. It's like, why do I suddenly want to have a drink of alcohol? And it's like, oh, when you can when somebody tells you that, maybe somebody who made the ad, you like look inside the magazine ad, and you've got, inside the ice cubes inside the drink, you've got people like, in amorous situations. Like, they do this stuff. I don't even want to think about what other sorts of subliminal advertising go on television shows and the commercials that they run there too, or even probably on the internet. I'm sure somebody's gone down that rabbit hole, and I don't know enough to speak about it. All I know is that, it is a control system. We have to be very awake and aware. I think one of the best ways to do that is really learning how to stay in the present moment, while creating our future at the same time. I think that's a really good idea. But that's for probably another show too. Mind control. So, now we've got cell phones. Cell phones come onto the scene. Well, they're not even very good for us. I remember when I got my first cell phone, I read the literature on it. I didn't want the cell phone, but it was kind of imposed on me. I remember reading the literature, and it said that, they don't know, or they do know or don't know that it could cause brain tumors. I can't remember which one, but it was like saying it could cause brain tumors, and that, I looked up something on the internet, like how far away should I keep it from my body, and it said 3 feet. So I don't know if that's true or not, but way back when cell phones first came out, I made sure that I kept the cell phone 3 feet away from my body. And I don't carry a cell phone on me. When I do, I leave it on airplane mode, so that I'm not getting irradiated, hoping that that helps reduce the radiation, and just try and keep it away from my body. You know what? I want to be as aware as possible. I want to be as tuned in as possible, and I don't want to be scrambled. Now we've got cell phone towers. You know, it's bad enough that there's microwaves, right? Another thing that I don't use. That all leak radiation. Okay, so there's some radiation there. We've got cell phones with radiation, cell phone towers with radiation, Wi-Fi routers with radiation. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I mean, you know, nuclear. Just I don't even want to talk about the radiation part of it. That's another show too. I could be doing these shows until the cows come home, people. Yeah, and the 5G thing. That is sounds like it's just a freaking nightmare. I don't know enough about it. I'm trying to actually avoid knowing much about it at this point because there's too many other things I'm trying to do to help. But we've got to address these things. I absolutely believe they're being used for mind control. The HARP weather technology that is used all over the world to control our weather. Yeah, it's true. With all the geoengineering that they do up in the skies, with the quote-unquote chemtrails, where you sit and you watch these, some of the governmental agencies like to call them, that aren't necessarily governmental agencies. I'll call them out NASA. Okay, NASA. Persistent jet contrails. NASA. Never a straight answer. That's what NASA stands for. You know that, right? I didn't come up with that, but it's true. You see these persistent jet chemtrails come out of jets. And if you don't believe it's true, you can look up Kristin Meghan. Kristin Meghan worked for the Air Force, I believe, and was an inspector, and really has quite the telling tales to tell about. So telling tales to tell, wasn't that brilliant? Quite the story to quite the story to tell about what she saw. Who knows what's happening with all these chemicals and crap they're spraying in the sky and what's in them. I mean, it sounds like there's barium, aluminum, and strontium, and I don't know, probably whatever the hell they want to put in them. I'd heard some story, I'd read it somewhere. I think that it made it into the regular newspapers about Southern Oregon being sprayed with lithium. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't even know if I could find something on it right now or not. I'm just saying, I heard it somewhere along the line. And you know what lithium does, right? Awaken, my friends. Let's awaken. Mind control. I mean, pharmaceutical drugs. It just, here, take a drug, 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 take a drug. Read the list of side effects. It's like, oh my gosh. I'm not saying don't take the drugs. If your doctor's prescribing them, do what you need to do. Get the help you need to help, whatever that is. But you read these, one of the common side effects on some of these antidepressants is suicide. It's like, okay, is it just me? Or are we living in a crazy world that's a control system? We are in the Matrix. It's time to take the red pill. Take the red pill. It's the right pill to take. When we all wake up, we can change this world. There's a whole bunch of us. Only a few of these fools, okay? I can see time is beginning to get a little short here. I don't want these videos to be terribly long. I'm going to put the link. Oh, wait. I'm not going to talk about that yet. Maybe I'll talk about it right now. Why not? I'm going to put the link to this Richmond, California City Council meeting on my Facebook page. And I just ask that you look at it with an open mind. And these poor people, that have probably been called crazy. So many of these people have been locked up. I mean, so many people that tell the truth get locked up. Oh no, you're crazy. We're going to lock you up. I worked in a mental hospital when I was younger, and I can tell you right now, looking back on things, there were probably a lot of people that were there that didn't need to be there. No. They were either tuned into different densities or dimensions. Maybe we need to figure that out and how to work with people. God knows, what type of mind control was happening back then. Maybe, I'm sure some of them needed some help. I'm not saying that, but how many people have been locked up I mean, we know like how many quote unquote heretics have been killed over time, that came out and told the truth. It's like, you take a risk. You take a risk when you tell the truth. But you know what? You want to live in the lie your whole life? Do you want to watch humanity and the world get destroyed around you? No, thank you. No, thank you. We're on the hero's journey, my friends. It's time to become heroes. I'm not saying put yourself in a dangerous situation, but for heaven's sake, the more of us that talk and the more of us that are open and honest with each other, the more quickly we'll get this control system taken down. And what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, yeah. So I really like this guy named Corey Goode. You probably read all kinds of crappy things about him on the internet, but that's okay. I don't care. I really like him. I think he's spoken a lot of truth. I've learned from a lot of people, just like with me. You know what I mean? You got to use discernment. We all have something to bring to the table. It doesn't mean that everything that comes to the table is something that we need to partake in, okay? All right? Okay? That's what I'm saying. But he's brought a lot of interesting information to the table. And he talked about something called, I'll take this as a cue because I've got a jet flying over right now, which is really strange. There's been so much airplane traffic today, and there's not a lot of flights. And I don't really live on a major flight path, so whatever. At least they're not spraying crap into the sky that I can see right now, so I'm pretty excited about that. Always a good day when we have clear skies. So he talked about something called the Mind of God technology and said that this was a technology that was used to control our minds. And you could only imagine who came up with that. All right, it's probably like leftover Nazi stuff. We're still living in the Fourth Reich right now, just in case you didn't know that. Like the Nazis never went away. I'm not a fan of those people at all. This mind control technology is called the Voice of God technology, and he says that jets will fly over awakening communities and that they know are beginning to awaken too much, and they'll use this type of technology that kind of just dumbs us down some more. On a happy note, he also said that at some point along the way, he said that technology is turned up as high as they could turn it up. And I know that sounds weird too, but there are universal laws. We are not alone in the cosmos. And there are universal laws that people have to abide by, just like there are laws in our country and our world and our state and our city. Universally, there's laws too. And there are definitely all kinds of other people in our universe. Come on. But anyway, so this Mind of God technology sounds like it's another mind control tool. And I don't know if I'm going to say anything else about that at this point. But I really believe it exists. I also want to share some good news. I think the higher our vibration is, the more we move through life in a loving state of mind, being loving towards ourselves and others, caring for ourselves and others, caring for the world around us, caring for our environment, using natural weed control outdoors and natural products in our home, supporting organic farmers, those sorts of things. We keep our frequency a lot higher that way. We keep our vibration higher. And the more we do that collectively, the more this control system is going to be like, we can't make it. This isn't our environment anymore. And everything is energy. And that's something else we need to talk about. Everything is energy. And so the more we vibrate in an energetic state of peace and love and unity and caring for one another, but also, look, a sweet little bug. How cute. Did you see that? The more we learn to care for one another and expose criminals. They need to be exposed. They do. And we need to have the courage to do that. The more we can expose criminals and deal with people in our own life that are not behaving in ethical fashions. If you have a friend who is, cheating on a spouse, or if you have a family member who is, I don't know, stealing things from somebody, that's all I can think of at this time. Be courageous enough to risk a friendship or a relationship, to be honest with them about things. If they're so, maybe it's mind controlled. If they are off, if they're not in a vibration of love and unity, which includes self-love, and self-love isn't harming another person or getting over on someone. That's not self-love. It's being a jerk. Call them out. Risk your relationship. Don't enable people. Don't enable your friends, your family. Don't enable the system. Don't enable the system. Mind control. Yeah, it's everywhere. Do we need to be part of it? No, we don't. Do we need to be part of this sick and twisted matrix? Just for the amount of time it takes to break out of it. How do we break out of it? Together. What tool do we use to break out of it? Love. Okay? Encourage. And out in the creeps on this planet and wherever else they may reside. Wherever else they may reside. We do not consent. We do not consent to being mind controlled. We do not consent to being controlled at all. We are brothers and sisters who are all part of this world and part of this solar system and part of this galaxy. And we are all children of the one infinite creator. And we have just as much right to be here and thrive as anybody. So we do not consent to harm. We do not consent to anyone harming us. With that, I will end this episode of Reptile in the Living Room. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day or night. I hope this has helped you in some way. If it has, please share. You can also subscribe if you'd like. And just know that we do have the ability to transcend the insanity around us. And I believe we are well on our way. I love you. Tons. Peace.